The chairs in the conference room were all the same, but somehow mine felt temporary, like it could be folded up and put away if I took too long. The table was a pale laminate, nicked at the corners. Someone had placed a box of tissues in the middle as a courtesy, already assuming tears would be needed. I noticed that before I noticed my aunt. "We already divided everything," Aunt Anne said, brisk and satisfied, as if she were announcing the end of a meeting rather than the beginning of one. "You weren't invited for a reason." She didn't look at me when she said it. She spoke to the lawyer, who nodded in a vague, professional way, eyes down on the papers. There was no malice in his face, just momentum. He had been briefed clearly, and not by me. I had been invited, technically. The email had arrived late, forwarded without comment, like a formality that had escaped notice. I came anyway, not out of hope, but habit. I had learned a long time ago that absence was always interpreted as consent. The room settled into a shape I recognized. Anne leaned back, already done with whatever emotional labor she believed this required. My cousins sat close together, whispering once, then stopping when I looked up. No one asked me anything. No one asked me if I had questions. The narrative had been decided elsewhere. I focused on details instead, the faint hum of the overhead lights, the way the lawyer's pen left a groove in the paper when he paused. I folded my hands in my lap and waited, the way I always had. It wasn't that I didn't care, it was that caring openly had never helped. Growing up, I was the one who could be counted on to adapt. I was easy. I didn't need much. If there was an extra chair to set up, I did it. If someone needed a favor, I was called dependable, not important. Over time, those words took on a shape. They edged me out of rooms like this before I even arrived. The lawyer cleared his throat. "All right," he said. "So, as discussed, personal effects have been distributed. The house." He stopped. It was a small thing, a hitch. His eyes moved back to the document, then to another page. He frowned, not sharply, just enough that I noticed. He adjusted his glasses and leaned forward. "I'm sorry," he said, mostly to himself. He flipped a page, then another. The room shifted, chairs creaked, Anne straightened. "There seems to be a discrepancy," he said carefully. Anne laughed once under her breath. "There isn't." He didn't respond to that. He read silently for a moment longer. Then he looked up, and for the first time, he looked directly at me. "But her name," he said, tapping the page with his pen, "is the only one listed as beneficiary." The word sat there, plain and unadorned. Beneficiary. Not chosen, not favored. Just named. "No," Anne said. It came out flat, unpracticed. "That can't be right." "I'm afraid it is," he replied. There was no pleasure in his voice, no drama, just correction. "The will is very clear." Silence followed, but not the kind I was used to. This one wasn't ignoring me. It was orbiting me, uncertain what to do next. My cousin shifted, whispering my name like a question. Someone exhaled sharply. Anne reached for the papers as if proximity alone might change them. "We handled this," she said. "We talked about it." She wouldn't have. The lawyer held up a hand, gently but unmistakably. "Informal discussions don't supersede a signed will." That was the moment. Not loud. Not cinematic. Authority didn't raise its voice. It simply occupied the space it had always owned. No one looked at me now, not really. They looked at the idea of me, newly revised and inconvenient. I stayed still. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. There was nothing to add. The rest unfolded slowly. Questions were asked that had nothing to do with me. Timelines were clarified. Legal language replaced assumptions. Anne grew quiet, then precise, already recalibrating. This was a skill of hers, adjustment without apology. I felt something loosen in my chest, not relief exactly, but confirmation. A long-held tension had been based on a false premise that I had imagined my place at the margins. I hadn't. The margins had just failed to hold. When the meeting ended, people gathered their things with exaggerated care. Anne brushed past me, saying nothing. My cousin touched my arm, then withdrew her hand, unsure what was allowed now. Outside, the air was cool. Ordinary. I stood on the steps with my coat folded over my arm and waited for the feeling that was supposed to come: joy, vindication, triumph. It didn't. What came instead was quieter, a sense of alignment, of standing where I had always been standing, only now the ground was visible to everyone else. I didn't win anything in the way stories usually mean it. No one apologized. No one admitted they were wrong. The relationships remained fractured, perhaps permanently. Power didn't kneel, it simply recognized me. And that was enough. I walked to my car without looking back, carrying something I hadn't arrived with. Not revenge, not pride, but dignity, restored without spectacle, and heavy enough to feel real.